Thanks for joining us here at Functional Bliss, where Audra and Jessica will guide you through exercises and wellness techniques to help you live your best life every day. It's in the name, after all, Functional Bliss. Before you do anything else, click like and subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know whenever we put up a new video. To join our Blissful Gang for live Zoom classes where you can get more direct suggestions and encouragement, go to our website and sign up. Check the class description below for any equipment needs, grab your gear, and let's get started.
We shall see. And I'm keeping my fuzzy socks on. I'm not messing around. So, all right. So to start, we're going to come to a comfortable seated position. Now, options throughout the practice to be up and down off of your chair as your heart desires. So even with this, if you would prefer to lay down on the ground and kick your legs up over the chair for like a little bit of a modified legs up the wall, by all means, do the stuff that will feel really good to you. But we're just going to start by settling into the back of our chair. Take a moment, let your eyes close down or just soften your gaze. And just let your body land in a soft and comfortable way. Reduce as much efforting as possible. And then as you start to settle into your chair, and you're going to let your mind quiet down a little bit, let your body work out all those little wiggles and settle in a little bit. And then you're going to see if you can just start to notice the posture of your tongue in your mouth. So start by just noticing how your tongue is comfortably landing in your mouth. I'm not going to give any cues as to what might be right or wrong. Just notice where your tongue is resting in your mouth. And now we're going to do just a little bit of playfulness with our tongue in our mouth. So we're going to attempt to keep our mouth closed, so lips together. And then you're just going to see if you can playfully press your tongue up to the soft palate of your mouth and then gently drop your tongue away as if you're trying to open the back of your throat. So there's just going to be a little playfulness there. Pressing the tongue up into the soft palate of your mouth and then relaxing your tongue away. Pressing your tongue up. Relax your tongue away. Press your tongue up. Relax your tongue away. And then this time we're going to press the tongue up, and we're going to attempt, for majority of our practice from here on out, we're going to attempt to keep the tongue pressed up against the soft palate of the mouth as much as possible, and then breathe in and out through the nose. So see if you can find that, and then just start to breathe in and out through your nose best you can. And then keeping the breath coming in and out through your nose with the tongue pressed to the soft palate of your mouth. Bring your hands to your abdomen, and we're going to try, and once you've got your hands there, you're going to try to readjust. So you just want to get as soft and comfortable again into your seat. And then you're going to try to reduce as much efforting in your abdomen. So if getting there, you've made little adjustments and your abdominal muscles kicked on. Now, can you soften your abdomen? Soften against the back of your chair. Tongue is up against the soft palate of your mouth. Take about 3 deep breaths in through your nose. Exhale as slow as you can. One more cycle of breath. And then before we move away from this place of stillness, just take a moment here to set an intention to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice, never doing anything that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. with that intention set, gently lift your back away from the back of your chair, sitting up nice and tall here, and then hands on the abdomen, and we're just going to gently massage the abdomen. So if you can, and then it'll look like I'm going in the opposite direction of you. You're going to start over at the right upper quadrant of your abdomen, move it over to the left, down to the left, and then over to the right at the bottom. So we're going to do that as our, so for what I'm going to now mirror it. So you're going to start over at the right, move it over to the left, down and across, and we're just going to take a couple of gentle massaging circles, a light gentle pressure. But here we just want to tune in. How does your belly feel? How does your stomach feel? Have you noticed anything funky about your digestion this morning? There's no right or wrong. Just see if you can cue into what your morning has been like so far. Take one more gentle circle around. And then we're going to make our hands into light little fists, and this low belly, when you're just going to go from the belly button line, so at the center, and then tap gently out to the side of the body, and then pick it up, bring it back in, tap from the belly button out to the side of the body, pick it up, bring it in, do a couple more, just finding a little rhythm that makes sense to you. And then as you do that work, check back in. Is your tongue gently pressed up against the soft palate of your mouth, or did it relax down? And if it relaxed down, can you bring it back up to connect with the soft palate in the back of your mouth? All right, take one more little tap, 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 tap. And then we're just going to take a second to kind of shrug out the shoulders, wriggle out the head and the neck, just make a little upper body movement just to kind of loosen up any stuff if you were holding any tension there. Now we're going to take it into a cat-cow. I'm going to suggest a cat-cow where our hands are on the chair and we're in a standing tabletop position. If that's not for you, a little micro cat-cow in a seat is going to be the thing, or a standing cat-cow holding onto the chair, and you're just going to gently lift, extend the spine, and then find a little bit of work there. So any variation that feels right to you. I'm going to go for the one where my hands are on the chair, and then a little bit of cat-cow, not a lot. We're going to go for micro movement here, gently letting the belly come down, rounding slightly through the back of the body. Think light and gentle movement here. Don't even go for the full range of motion that your spine can achieve. Go for as if you're trying to mostly focus on the abdomen. So finding a little bit of movement in the belly as we pull it up for that rounding position of our cat. And then a little bit of movement as the belly drops down and finds a little bit of stretch through the front of the body. All right, take one more little cat-cow here, and then find a fairly neutral spine. And now if you're standing at your chair, you're going to go for a little bit of a C-spine, so hugging hip to shoulder, just to find a little extra wiggle room in the spine and invigorate the central nervous system just a little bit, but in a nice soothing way. So we're not going to go super fast. We're not going to go to the edge of our range of motion. We're going to gently move the side of the body. All right, take one more little wiggle from side to side. And then I'm going to move my chair. We're going to come down into a laying down prone position. We're going to go into crocodile pose with our blanket across the belly on the ground. For some of us who might not feel comfortable coming all the way down to the ground, you may choose to come back to your seat, and there you'll just take your blankie. You're going to tuck it up as tight up against your abdomen as you can, and then you'll gently fold. It's going to be a slightly different variation if you take it from the chair, but there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to do the thing that feels the most safe and the most comfortable to you. But if it feels good to come down to the ground, reposition your chair as needed. You'll fold up your blanket into a little mound, and then you might choose to just make little adjustments to the height of the blanket, just depending on the compression against your belly. Take your time as you come down. We want to do everything as slow and gentle and mindful as we can. So get your blankie folded up. Take a moment to just come, and if you can get it there, we want the upper ridge of the ribs to come slightly over the ridge of the blanket. So we want most of our soft tissue of the belly on our blanket, and then we'll walk our legs slightly wide, wiggle out your tush just a little bit, elbows nice and wide, forehead's going to soften and rest on your stacked hands. And then once you're there, we're going to be here for about 3 minutes. So you're just going to soften and settle. But once you get there, you're going to check in real quick, and you're going to make sure that you're breathing comfortably with ease. So you're inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, Can you keep your tongue gently pressed against the soft palate of your mouth? And then if you get here and there's any discomfort, you'll come up and out right away, perhaps come back to your seat or any other movement that might feel good. So find your way into a settling in position. And then we're going to try to find a little effortlessness. So you're going to relax your bum, relax the backs of your legs, relax your feet. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully start to bring yourself up. So maybe starting to come up into tabletop position. Take your time as you come up. And then if you can, pause for a moment in your tabletop position. Take a big, generous breath in. Inhale through your nose. Exhale as slow as you can. And now we're going to come back up to our chairs. So take your time as you come up to a seated position. So we're going to find our way up to a seat. And like I said, we're going a little hatha style. So we're just going to one pose, doing a little bit of work, coming into another shape, doing a little bit of work. So it's not going to feel as fluid as our chair yoga usually is, but hopefully it has its own level of benefit. So find your way into your seat, sit your butt down. And now we're going to go for a twist, but we're going to start by taking our right hand and we're just going to reach it out straight in front of the chest. And we're going to look to our thumb, and then we're going to look to our thumb and start to rotate. And then you're going to rotate as much as you can. So we're not leveraging. So the other hand is free. It's not doing anything except for allowing space to rotate. And then once your hand maybe could hook over the back of the chair in a soft rotation. So we don't want to go to our end range of motion here if we can help it. Find a soft rotation and then just let your other hand rest. And then we're going to go for about 5 cycles of breath. So if you're in an efforted twist, if it feels like it's a lot of effort to hold this position, soften up as much as you can. We just want a light rotation. And then see if you can come back to tongue pressing up against the soft palate of your mouth, breathing in and out through your nose. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully unwind your twist. Now that right hand is just going to stretch right above your head. Your left hand's going to grab hold of the chair and you're just going to gently tip over, not full range of motion. We're just going to go just to a point where we feel a little bit of tug in the side of the body, and then pause there for a moment, take a breath. Take one more cycle of breath. And then when you're ready, gently lift up and release. And now we're going to take the other hand forward. So left hand is going to reach straight up from the shoulder. We're going to look at the thumb. We'll start to rotate. Let your head turn with. So you're looking to the thumb, and then see if you can just maybe clip your arm over the back of the chair, but that might be too much. So you're only going to twist as far as feels just right to you. And then once you found that soft, gentle, twisted position, now come back to your breath. We're going for about 5 cycles of breath here. Take one more breath. Unwind your twisted position. Take that left hand, reach it up above your ear, tip over just a little bit. Hold on to the chair if that creates some stability for you. Only tip over just enough. You want to feel a little bit of a stretch or a stress, but nothing extreme, and we're not even trying to go for full range of motion. And once you're there, just come back to your breath. Beautiful. When you're ready, slowly, gently, mindfully release that side bend. Take a second. Just give your shoulders a little shrug, give your ribs and your belly just a little wiggle and a shake. And then before we move on to the next position, just pause for a moment, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a nice gentle breath in. Tongue is pressing up to the roof of the mouth. Slow breath out. Nice. And then give your fingers and your toes a little wiggle, give your wrist and your ankles a little movement, just to kind of bring a little bit of movement back into the other limbs, since it's cold. So we want to make sure that we're still kind of keeping the rest of the body slightly alive. So give everything a little wiggle, a little bit of movement. And we're going to start with just a little bit of a gentle side step. What we want to do here is we're working towards our malasana, or our low yogic squat. So we're going to start by just stepping our feet out, waking up the hips a little bit, noticing how they feel, and then adding just a little bit of up and over. So you're going to pick that leg up, step it up and over, pick that leg up, step it in. And then you're going to tune in here and notice, how do your hips feel? How is your thighs feeling? How are your feet feeling? How are your knees feeling? So our malasana, our low yogic squat, is something that can be beneficial to our elimination. So we like to get into that posture best we can, but for some of us, that low squatted position is a lot. So we're going to ask our body, what's it feeling like this morning? Now I'm going to give you some variations, and then you're going to choose the one that you like best. If you have 2 yoga blocks, and if it feels safer and more comfortable to take your malasana in the seat, you're going to bring the floor up to meet you by placing your yoga blocks on the tallest setting. And then you're going to step your feet up, and then we're just going to gently fold just a little bit. We want just a little bit of space so that we can, and then you might make adjustments to your blocks as needed. If you're going to stay in your seat, but you only have 1 yoga block, you're going to place 1 foot up, bring it as close as you can. We want a little bit of compression in that hip flexor and the belly area. So we're going to take it into that, and then we're going to lean forward just a little bit. So we create a little bit of extra compression, and then I'll tell you switch to the other side. If a malasana squat feels good and you can just easily and gently come down into that low squatted position, perhaps you use your chair as a little bit of a place where you can fold over and let your hands rest. So you're going to go for the variation that feels just right to you. And then once you found the variation that feels just right to you, and I'm going to come back to my block variation. So get into your position, find the shape that feels just right. I'm going to go double blocks, but for video purposes, I will, after a couple breaths, I'll say if you have just one block, then you'll switch over to the other side. So find your shape, take a second to make some space for your belly and chest, soften as much into it as you can, and then just notice your breath. Tongue is pressing up to the soft palate of the mouth, breathing in and out through your nose. All right, if you're working with just a single block and you want to take a moment to reposition, place the block over to the other side, step your foot on, find a nice soft forward-like position. And then once you're there, come back to your breath. If you're in that double position or down on the ground, stay exactly as you are and just keep on breathing. Take one more breath. All right, and then no matter which version you're in, slowly bring yourself out. Take your time. If you were down in that lower squatted position, perhaps coming back up to a seated position. So take your time, move your props, get your gear out of the way. Now we're going to go into a forward fold. Now, forward fold is going to look different on each of our bodies. So for some of us, just keeping the legs out in front of us and gently folding forward to a point where there's a little bit of compression on the belly, that might be where it's at. Some of us might feel super duper great to bend the knees and take a fold in a standing position. What we want is a little bit of a movement of the abdominal tissue. So you're going to take a fold that makes the most sense to you. For some of us, it'll feel really good to extend the legs long. You'll feel safe and comfortable in the chair. Any folded variation that feels good. But what I'm going to say is please keep your knees bent as much as feels comfortable, and then find that folded position. And we're just going to take 5 nice deep breaths here. So once you've found your fold, tongue is pressed up to the soft palate of the mouth, breathing in and out through your nose. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, come up and out of your fold nice and slow. Take your time as you come up, and then just give your upper body a little wiggle, wiggle your ribs just a little bit, shimmy, shake your shoulders just a little bit, give a little bit of movement back to that belly, and then take a nice big breath in. A nice slow breath out. Next up, we're going to move into wind relieving pose. We're going to hold for 5 breaths on one side, 5 breaths on the other side. Now, from a seated position, you can just pull the knee up towards the chest and tuck your nose towards your knee. That might feel really good. If you prefer to take your wind relieving pose down on the ground, and options in our Shavasana to go into legs up the wall. So if you feel like coming down onto the ground would feel like the place to go, you might start to take your way down onto the ground. And then once you've found your way there, you're just going to lay down nice and long. One leg is going to be nice and long to the end of your mat, and your other knee is going to pull into the chest. So if that feels like a good place to be, come down onto the ground, pull your knee into your chest. If that feels like it's asking a lot to come up and down off the ground, then stay in your seat, knee to the chest. Find your variation that feels just right to you this morning. And then once you've found your way there, see if you can just come back to your breath. Tongue is pressing up to the soft palate of the mouth, breathing in and out through your nose. Take one more breath. And then slowly and mindfully release your handhold from that leg, especially if you're down on the ground. Just let it set down and then just give it a little wiggle from side to side. Sometimes a little bit of compression in that hip flexor muscle wants just a little bit of release as well. So wiggle that leg as much side to side as feels good. If you're in an upright seated position in your chair, both feet on the ground, you might go for some light windshield wipers, just swishing the knees gently from side to side. And then once you kind of loosen up that leg and given that hip flexor just a little bit of extra love, pull the other knee in towards your chest. If you're in that seated variation, you're going to pull your knee up towards your heart space and then tuck your nose to your knee just to get a little bit of extra compression. So find the shape that feels just right to you. And then once you're there, come back to your breath. Tongue pressing up to the soft palate of the mouth, breathing in and out through your nose. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. So if you're in your seated position, you're just going to let that leg go down to the ground and then you'll windshield wiper. Probably both legs would feel good to windshield wiper from the chair. If you're down on the ground, set that foot down and then just let that knee drop gently from side to side. And if that's feeling good and you want to go for some gentle windshield wipers, now maybe you take those knees and just gently rock them from side to side. From a seated variation, finding a belly stretch is going to be a little bit more hard to find. But if you want to, especially if you're down on the ground, if you want to take just a quick belly stretch, walk your feet in a little bit closer, knees bent, knees together, arms are going to come out nice and wide, and you're just going to drop the knees over to the right. We're going to just stay here for one cycle of breath. We're looking for a little bit of stress or stretch through the front of the belly tissue. So see if you can find that sense of stretch and then just take a nice full deep inhalation. Nice slow exhalation. On your next inhalation, bring your knees through center, drop them over to the other side. Take your time as you drop them down. We're looking for that stretch or stress feeling in the front of the abdomen. So see if you can find that sensation. And then once you're there, take a nice full deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. On your next inhalation, bring your legs through center. And then my suggested Shavasana, if you can come down onto the ground, will be to use your chair for a variation of legs up the wall. So we'll bring the chair a little bit closer to us and we'll kick our legs up and over the chair, especially since in most places it's a little bit chilly today. We're going to also use our blanket across the abdomen. Now you might choose to take the blanket all the way up over your feet and across your whole entire body, using it just to keep you nice and toasty. But if you're pretty warm and it feels good to just kick the legs up and over, then you're going to take your blanket and just bring it across the belly. And then with just that little extra bit of weight, you're going to let your hands rest comfortably across the belly, across the blanket. So get yourself into a position that feels good. If you're staying in an upright seated position, you still can take your blanket across the abdomen and hug your hands in. So you'll find that space that feels just right to you, something that just you can find a little stillness in and reduce as much efforting as possible. So find a shape that feels just right. And then maybe allow your eyes to close down or just soften your gaze. And then let your breath return to its natural rhythm. So if your tongue naturally rests away from the roof of your mouth, you're going to go ahead and let it. But if it stays connected to the soft palate of the mouth, you're going to let that happen too. You always have the option to stay in your Shavasana just as long as you like. And especially for our digestive system, if you're working on IBS or any of those little disruptions to your digestion, you may choose to stay here just a little bit longer and give your body a little time. But if you feel like it's ready, you're ready, your body's ready to start to reawaken. Maybe gently start to wiggle the fingers, maybe start to gently wiggle the toes. Give a little time here. Allow that moment for a nice, slow, deep breath to come back into your body. And then maybe when you feel ready, start to move your ankles a little bit, move your wrists. Give a little time to let that slow, deep breath come back into your body. And now, if it's easy to do so, if you can, without much effort, scoot your chair off of your mat to give yourself a little space, go ahead and do it. Do the thing that feels most effortless. If it's going to like knock your chair over, do anything unsafe, then you're going to just get up a little bit, move the chair out of the way. But once you've got the chair out of your way, you're going to reach your legs nice and long, stretch your arms up and overhead. Start with a big good morning stretch, but see if you can find a little bit of focus on feeling that sense of stress or stretch or elongation through your abdomen. Take a nice deep breath in as you reach through your fingers and your toes. And then as you exhale, soften a little bit. Now we're going to take it into a little bit of a side arch. So if your blanket's going to get in the way, if it's across your abdomen, take a second to just kind of move it off to the side. And then you're going to roll slightly onto one side. So you're going to roll slightly onto your right hip, but then come back to that nice big yawning stretch as if you're trying to make a little bow shape with your body. So find a little bit of reach, take a nice big breath. And then soften, come back through center. And then we're going to do that to the other side. So you're going to slightly roll onto the left hip and then find that bow shape with the body. Find that big good morning stretch, but with a little arch in the back. And then when you're ready, release, come back to center, and then release your arms, step your legs in so that you can find that nice soft bent knee position, and maybe take just a couple of micro windshield wipers just to move the hips again, soothe the back, any other little micro movements that might feel good. And now we're going to find our way up to a comfortable seated position. So you might choose to stay on the ground. That might feel great. Or you might choose to come back up to your chair. So you're going to do the seated position that feels just right to you. There's no right or wrong, but we're just going to take a moment just to come back to our awareness of breath. So we're going to place both hands on the abdomen as best you can. So find your handhold, find your seat, and then soften your gaze or close your eyes down. Check in with your tongue, placing your tongue back onto that soft palate of your mouth, and then breathing in and out through your nose best you can. Now we're going to keep one hand on the belly, and then we're going to place one hand on top. So it feels a little bit like pat the head and rub the belly, but we're not going to pat or rub. We're just going to place one hand on top of the head, one hand down on the belly, just to give this idea, this sense that there's a communication that happens from your brain to your belly, and then it goes in reverse from your belly to your brain. So there's a system of communication that happens in your mind. So sometimes stress can create a hiccup in your digest, and sometimes digest can create a little stress. So keep in mind that this is a two-way communication system. Take a nice deep breath in from your brain down to your belly. Exhale as slow as you can. And now we're going to switch hands. So switch hand onto the belly, switch your other hand up to the top of your head, and now we're going to breathe down to the belly, up to the brain. And then breathe out as slow as you can. And now that hand that's on top of your head, go ahead and place it right on top of your heart space. Take another nice gentle breath in. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for all of your hard work. And then breathe in a little extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your day and share with anyone who might need it. And then when you feel ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. You are amazing. And thank